Hello, my name is Soko Paul Karsten. Welcome to the Enjoy Experience. This is the last podcast of this series. I started this series in order to share some ways to attain the specific skills or perspectives that I have found particularly helpful to me on a daily basis in both discovery of deeper aspects of my relationship with life and this world, as well as deeper manifestation of the inner joy experience, which is the outcome of this inquiry. Like the need to daily clean the house or take a shower, the need for daily exercise and to daily eat food, I have found in my life that there is also a daily need to support the side of myself that feels the connection, the communion that we all have in this cosmos, in order to clear out the obstruction that simply believing we are separate individuals in a foreign world is helpful for our individual, personal, ambitious efforts, but it needs to be balanced with the clearing out of the pathogens that can exist when we truly think we are separate from everything else, and the kinds of patterns of thought or patterns of relating that can occur when we do not consider everything as being part of ourselves, that we are part of everything else. So the skills and thoughts that I've presented through these podcasts have been the ones that I have learned from teachers, learned from nature, discovered myself over many decades of practice, and become, in some ways, the most important inquiry in my life, and therefore something, whatever you have, that is the most important inquiry or passion in your life. I think it is also important to at least offer that up to be shared with others, whether or not others understand or have interest in it. We are still, each of us, then sharing what is most important to us in our life. And so that has been the nature of these podcasts. This podcast is called The Heart of the Matter. I want to begin with a little story about one of my favorite people in history, and that's Albert Einstein, and his description of the happiest thought that he ever had in his life. And this came about at a time when he was most prolific in his intellectual epiphanies and discoveries that he shared with the world. And the interesting point about this is something that is often not pointed to in the history books, and that is that in his efforts he had a personal experience of falling, the experience in in the body, the embodied experience of falling, and the embodied experience of acceleration, of being accelerated, as in being in a rocket ship that was accelerating. And his discovery was that this experience, body experience, was of these two different, what were considered different forces, was the same. And the important point to this was, at that time in physics, because of language and the origins of the research, the experience of gravity and the experience of acceleration were considered different. But because of this embodied experience, this realization that fundamentally these two different things, falling and accelerating, were the same, he was able to then look for what was the theoretical framework and the mathematics to explain how these were the same, were connected, rather than being separate and dealt with separately. And it was through this exercise that he developed the theory of relativity. The point to this is that many people believe that to research quantum physics, to research the depths of the energetic aspect of our cosmos, you need to have both a high level of training of mathematics and or a very high level of technical equipment to make the initial discoveries and understandings. But when you look at Einstein's story, none of that was the origin. The origin was simply the embodied experience and recognizing that two, what were considered different forces or different realities in physics at that time, were actually fundamentally the same in your embodied experience. And therefore, to take that epiphany, that happiest thought, as he later called it, and discover how to explain that in rationality, in a reasoned, mathematical, and conceptual framework. This, I think, is a powerful reminder that our personal experience is important, that your personal sensations and experience moment to moment in life are important. They are first, from my point of view, important because this capacity to be present with the sensations that you experience through your senses, through your breath, through your connection with the earth, moment to moment, is a sense of presence that brings clarity and peace to your life. And that in itself is valuable. But it also can lead to epiphanies and wisdom regarding how your rational mind views your relationship with the world, with others, and with yourself. And for Einstein, he felt that his explorations of the cosmos and of our universe were explorations of the mind of God. And for him, the important effort was what he called the principle of equivalence, finding that which was the same, finding the unification factor for our cosmos. And this quest of a unified theory that connects everything continues to be a quest in physics and cosmology. And possibly on some level for each of us, we are seeking to find connection and unity with others. That is, I think, a major part of what these podcasts have been about for me. Last podcast, we looked at the models of 4 forces that generate our self, our cosmos, our world, our life, and that these have been present throughout the history of humankind in both physics and philosophy, in both religion and in practical science. And I particularly pointed at the more current understanding in cosmology and physics today, the standard model of particle physics, which identifies 4 forces. And I also asked you to explore your experience of the 4 aspects, the 4 interactions, the 4 phases of breathing, of walking, of any activity you participate in. Because a founding premise of these podcasts is that there is simply one activity in this whole universe that we all share. This activity of expansion and contraction, appearing and disappearing, opening and closing, whatever way you look at this, it is this activity that is found throughout our systems and at all scales. And the 4 can be discovered in the vibrational nature of this activity as being the 4 transformations or seasons or phases of this basic activity. And so I sought to indirectly see if you could find the experience of equivalence, of where and how this view of gravity and light and the powerful force of connection that is held at the tiniest level, as well as the powerful force of open possibility to interaction that is at the smallest, tiniest level, could be experienced in your daily life. Just like Einstein pointed at 2 common experiences that humans have, falling and accelerating, as being at their core identical. And so it is this kind of exploration to find the equivalence that underlies the sense of separation in our world that these podcasts have been focusing on, because it is also in discovering this equivalence that we discover the inner joy that comes from this experience of connection, what Einstein referred to, at least in that particular moment, as his happiest thought. So here in this last podcast, we are going to look at what might be considered the 5th force, or from another perspective, the 0 force. That is, that when you take these 4 and you consider what we have been practicing regarding simultaneity, that opposing forces or what appear to be oppositional activities are experienced simultaneously, that you also there begin to discover that which is the same in all of those, that which holds them together, the equivalence factor that connects what appear to be very different things underneath, in a way. And we had a podcast where I presented how you could potentially do this with words, with language, by grounding yourself, and then from the perspective of being grounded and present, considering the equivalence, the sameness that underlies words that in the rational world are used to separate and identify things as being different. But in this world that we are exploring, can show how they have connection, where that power of communion exists. And so this is an effort I want you to explore as you look at the 4 phases of breathing, as you look at the 4 fundamental forces that are considered the standard model of particle physics, to see where and how those meet. What experience that you can find, that you already have, that is in the center of all of this. In a sense, this is what I call the organism, whether it is the organism of a galaxy or of a planet or of an individual or of a cell or of an atom. It is that force where everything links and is held in one. And without the 4, that one cannot exist, because it only appears, as physics points to, when those 4 exist. It can only continue to be there. But on the other side, it is that one that provides the existence of the 4, that this goes both ways, that we hold as organisms the universe together, even as the 4 forces of the universe hold us together. And it is the discovery of the internal experience of this being embraced, and at the same time embracing our universe, our environment, others in our world, that is the basis for the podcast that we have been through to date. So if this was not clear to you already as a principle of these podcasts, then I hope in this final one that these words assist in you understanding my particular perspective on this. That if you practice these exercises, and again, you may have others, and some of these may not work for you, or some may be very easy, or some may be very difficult and take years of practice, they are pointing at you discovering this place of equivalence, of where we are all the same and connected. And from that experience in yourself, as well as in your cosmos, you discover your true self, that experience of connectivity, that experience of an activity that goes beyond the thought or the belief of individuality. So we are going to explore that one final time in this particular podcast. And we are going to use the power of language in order to do that. As I mentioned in a couple of earlier podcasts, the one called Word and the one regarding mantras, Language can be used in two very different ways by humans. One, the most popular way to use language is to develop rational thought and rational descriptions of our reality and relationships and definitions that go with that, that separate and organize the time and space universe and cosmos that we believe we live in as individuals. And that is obviously a powerful tool for both connecting things but also keeping things separate. On the other side, words, language, can be a powerful link to the two aspects of ourself that often are separated. That is, the side of us that lives in a world of time and space and experiences the identity of being a separate individual, and the world where time and space don't exist and that we have an experience of presence and connectivity that dissolves the barriers that exist, that appear to exist between objects and individuals. And it is language and words that can connect those two and provide meaning in our life, in our individual life that often is searching for meaning, with that aspect of ourselves that provides the experience of meaning that our separate self is searching for. That you have within you, not needing to look outside for external places to go to fulfill your sense of incompleteness, that you have within you already the way to access an experience of completeness that can provide the kind of meaning and wisdom for your daily life. So today's exercise will look at this by providing some of the phrases that have been used through history as ways of pointing at this relationship and this connection. And in order to experience them in the way that I am suggesting, we do again have to use our skills to get grounded, to get centered, to feel a sense of breathing and connecting with our moment that helps us to be released from the program of individual identity. It isn't that we are dissolving this individual identity forever. And so the fear that these exercises could cause you to lose yourself completely is a fear that maybe that rational mind has, but it is not real. The experience of finding connection and communion and the dissolution of your individual beliefs and histories is something that is liberating, and yet you find that it does not dissolve away that individual self forever. It's more I guess like an ebb and flow of the tide, or a back and forth, that you will realize how you are an individual and how you are not, and also the connection in between. To quote a kind of ancient equation, philosophical or mathematical. Form is no form. And therefore, we call this no form form. So, form can be experienced as no form, what you actually did in podcast 1, where you had a physical thought of your arm or hand that you can look at right now as form, and yet when you went into the experience of the sensations, if you went into this fully with breathing and acceptance, that form dissolved into sensations of no form. And yet, logically, if we say that, then therefore, this no form we call form. And so if that kind of logic is a little hard to wrap your mind around, it's because you are still sitting in a world that is based on separation. The more we find the place where we can move from form to an experience of no form, to the experience of connection, and back again, the more we start seeing how they are two sides or two experiences to the same coin, to who you are, to two aspects of yourself. And words can assist in making and strengthening this connection and balance of both sides of who you are. Okay, so that's a longer introduction than usual, but it's my last podcast as well. So I wanted to at least take some time to be clear, or relatively clear, about the objectives and beliefs or principles that do exist behind this series. I'm going to mention a meditation device that I suggest that you use along with this exercise because I have found it to be particularly important often in my contemplations. And that is a walking stick. Yes, that's what I mean. Actually, a wooden walking stick. I regularly hold a wooden walking stick as part of the exercises and practices that I do. I have tried using a nice size rock that you can hold in your hand, or a piece of metal, or other objects, all of these being as tools to assist in this experience of really finding connection. And for myself anyway, I have discovered that the wooden walking stick is the one that I find the most helpful. And in fact, you maybe don't even need to have it be a walking stick. It could be relatively short stick, almost like a baton that you hold as you move through life from birth to death, as you are passing this baton on through the generations. But a manifestation of that in physicality would be a wooden baton that fits comfortably in your hand. This is the one little meditation device that I use, and I am going to suggest that you find something like that for the exercise today, or if it's difficult to find, and again, a stone can also be used. You might look for that in the future to find a piece of a tree that really you feel this kind of friendly connection with when you hold it. Okay, with that additional little device, meditative device, contemplative device, we will now move to begin the exercise for today. So, as usual, please find the space and the time to have quiet and a sense of safety. And we will begin. I think we will do a brief grounding exercise together for this particular podcast. If it is you need longer time, then you can certainly just pause the podcast until you feel ready for the exercise itself. We will begin the grounding exercise in just a moment. So as usual for grounding, for most of us, it is important to first take a moment to feel the energy descending through our body down to the ground. This is because for most of us, we are often busier in our heads and less connected with the sensations in our feet and our hands. And so using a quick body scanning technique, almost like imagining standing in a shower, feel the sensations in the top of your head, moving down through your head, into your neck, into your shoulders, your arms, your hands. Breathing with this experience as you move to your chest, your back, flowing your awareness down into your belly, your pelvic area, flowing into your legs, breathing, accepting, simply being with these sensations as you flow down to your feet, feeling the connection with the earth now, which hopefully is quite familiar to you. Breathing with the connection with the earth, melding into the sensations, moving deeper into your experience of earth, even to the core of this planet. Breathing and holding that rooted connection. Checking your posture, both that you're feeling anchored where your base of your spine, where you're sitting, and with your feet, and also lifting up through the crown of the head towards the heavens with a sense of openness to the heavens and the stars and the possibilities, even as you are feeling a sense of anchoring and connection with the sensations and breathing in the ground. Shoulders back a bit, sternum raised a bit, chin tucked a little bit so that you feel an erectness to your posture. Moving back and forth with your trunk left and right to ensure that you feel centered over your personal center of gravity, like a tree trunk, finding that connection to the gravity of the earth and the connection with the sky. Breathing with all of this, all of your body, all of your cells, all of your hairs, all of your skin. Slowing your breath down. Equalizing, inhale and exhaling. Distinguishing the expanding, rising sensations from the descending, concentrating, contracting sensations, being aware of those which are uplifting and those which are sinking simultaneously as you breathe and connect with the earth and the heavens. One little Qigong exercise that can help with this is as you raise your arms up with the inhalation, as we've done in the past, you think down, you think going down. So your body and breath are filling as you think going down, and then when you reach total inhalation, your hands are completely raised to the heavens. Then as you exhale and your hands return back like wings of a bird to the sides, you're thinking up. You're feeling the experience of moving up. So this helps to remind you of both directions simultaneously. You rise as you inhale, but you think down, flowing down, and you feel that experience sinking into the earth. And then as you exhale and your hands descend, you think rising up, and you feel the experience of uplifting in your body. This can be a simple little tool to help with this simultaneous experience. And then through all of this, then begin to identify the central nexus, the central core or hub of your energetic being. Often connected with the sense of being in the lower belly, but again, the energetics of it are where you feel this axis, because actually it is not specifically in your lower belly. It's associated with your lower belly, but in the energetic world, it is a place of connectivity that you have with others, what can be called your source. So as you breathe, staying grounded for this, feel your center and how this center exists because of the four directions, the four aspects of breathing, of inhaling and exhaling upward and downward, and the back and forth that occurs with this experience. Breathe with your environment, gazing out, whether you're in darkness or whether you're in light. Actually, darkness is light, simply a different frequency. So embrace it all. And as you breathe, imagine all of your environment and you inhaling together. The sensations of gathering and inhaling of this unconditional opening and acceptance of everything. And then as you exhale, the experience of everything vibrating and radiating with the exhale, with the intention of this experience. Feeling the point of complete exhale and the sense of everything in that point of stillness and energy. And the point of complete inhale, of that moment when the exhale begins, of that moment of open And all of these experiences simultaneously experienced together. Take a moment to whatever you have discovered as your energetic center to generate sound from that center to help cultivate and clarify that particular little pinpoint that you hold wherever you have discovered that center to be with some sound. Here I will simply do You may also have some bell or something that you like to ring, as external sound that can resonate with your core, with your source. So use all of your environment, the crickets, if you're in the nighttime, even engines, if you're in the daytime. Find where you get past your judgments of things and simply find where they resonate. Simple sounds from your core and simple sounds from your environment. As I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, cleaning is an important daily activity that we participate in, whether it's cleaning ourselves, brushing our teeth, washing our hands, cleaning counters or dishes. And it is important for cleaning to allow the experience of this present moment to shine through in a way. And so there is a word that can help with mental cleaning. Very simple word that I'm going to ask you to drop into your core at this point and hold in your core. And that word is no. Or I often use nil. So as thoughts, beliefs, whatever appear now, simply add to them this no or nil. To stop, to clear these temporarily, because cleaning is something we do daily, to simply say no and then see what appears and say no again, like you are scrubbing something that has a lot of grime on it. Continue to scrub by saying no in a grounded, matter-of-fact way, in a grounded, compassionate way. By compassionate, I mean we are holding our anchor with an experience of friendship We are experiencing the connection with the earth. The sensation of connection with the earth is the one that you want to resonate with when you say no. So the no and the sensation you experience in your feet should be in harmony with each other. This no is a neutral no, nil. Not this, not that. Something comes up, not this. Something goes there, not that. And practice this. We'll do it for a little while here to help you clean out for this time and moment thoughts that may be coming in. Just gently and firmly with the ground supporting you, with your earth. No. And after each no, simply be aware of the sensations that appear, the thoughts, whatever they are. Accept them, breathe with them, and then say no again. And again. I didn't mention at the beginning of this, but if you have that wooden walking stick available to you, then let's hold that in our hand, either hand. You can even switch back and forth at different times. Hold it firmly with the care you would hold the hand of a friend or a treasure. Hold that experience in the center as well as you say no. So this no is not a no of violence. It is not a no of harm. It is simply a experience of like cleaning, of brushing your teeth, of taking a shower, washing the dishes. And with this firm, caring holding of your walking stick, hold no. Not this, not that, nil, no. This practice can be one you can use as a daily activity for, like, again, brushing your teeth for a period of time, 5 minutes or so. Remember, when doing it, you are in this zone of grounded, simultaneous breathing, being in your energetic core, holding the feeling of connection with a walking stick, or if you had no walking stick, with mudra, like the ones we did in the podcast there, where you have this sense of connection, and dropping into the center of all this, the negation, the no. Letting go of this. No, not this. No, not that. And then letting appear whatever appears, accepting, breathing, and again, not this, not that. Keep holding the experience in your hand. Remember, our hands are powerful, energetic, and neurological parts of the cosmos that when we place our breath and intention in our hands, whatever that intention and breath and whatever it's holding becomes amplified in its existence. So a feeling of well-being as you hold a child or this walking stick, and keeping focus, an awareness, a breath, an acceptance into that. But also bringing in the no. And that will also help strengthen, believe it or not, that experience. It will clean and clear to find the essence that is at your source, that you share with everything else. It is in this source now that I will listen in, keeping grounded, keeping holding your stick. I will give you a few phrases to simply sink in. Please do not try to analyze these. Use your rational being. Use the no, if necessary, to dismiss that side of yourself for this time. It will still be there later on, don't worry. But we would like to develop the strength to put that skill in a closet and close the door a bit. That rational, judging, assessing, diagnosing skill. We simply want to hear the words, and whatever appears already appears as we hear these words. These words, phrases, have been used throughout times in history for often indirectly pointing at what is essentially important. And they are not any magical words as such. They're very commonplace. But within this zone, they can become powerful connectors. A star in the night sky. An oak tree in the garden. a weed in the field. A bubble in a stream. A lamp unto yourself. Lightning in a summer storm. The light of the world. A phantom in a dream. The heart of the matter. You may find with first listening to these phrases that the mind of judgment, assessment, definition arises. I think, though, with practice, as you hold firmly to the core with your hands, to the earth with your feet, with your breath, with the center. And these words are said maybe many times in this source point, this still point, this space, third space, where you do feel some connectivity with your environment, some vibrational linkage with everything around you, with your breath, with the space, with the darkness, with the light, with the physical trees and stars, that flowers, people. As you repeat these phrases in a meditative place and notice the experiences that appear or continue, you may find what Einstein found, the place, the experience of equivalence, the place, the experience that is shared, what I will call, what many people maybe call, your true self. And that true self is the source of your inner joy, of being in joy. I will leave you with that. If you would like, I would be more than happy to hear your comments regarding which of these podcasts have been helpful, which have not been helpful, what epiphanies have arisen with this practice, what difficulties or disappointments or challenges you've had with this practice, and any recommendations you have one way or the other to continue or not to continue. You can reach me at the email address physicsofchi@gmail.com. Physics of Chi being all one word, at gmail.com. And I will be happy to respond if you would like to have some back and forth communication. As I said at the onset of this series, this is, for me, the most important practice and inquiry in my life. And so your input, if I'm looking at the aspect of it to share with others, could be really helpful. Though also it is simply important to share what we find in our heart, regardless of whether it's understood or agreed to. So we have relationship where we must be honest, and at the same time we must listen and find that place of connection where there is this experience of harmony. And so these podcasts will probably continue in new versions in this effort to continue to more clearly present what I think is important. Take care and goodbye.